What stopped you from committing suicide? My dog. The idea of him waiting for me to come back made me feel guilty. I had to leave him for a month or so when I was really sick and he was so depressed, barely ate, didn't want to play. When I got back home he was the happiest anyone has seen him be in years. I couldn't disappoint my dog. And then I had my son. He is such a mama's boy. I didn't want to traumatize him at a young age. So here I am, preparing for him to go into first grade next week. Catching COVID. I had stopped going to work a few months earlier, was planning to end it on my birthday so I didn't have to turn 28. Then, about 2 weeks before my planned day, I caught COVID. My parents checked up on me to bring me some food and stuff, then realized that I hadn't been going to work. This led to me just opening up about why I'd quit work and what my plan was. They brought me back home and have been providing for me while I work on getting mental health care since then. So, I guess, thanks coronavirus, I'd be dead without you. My cat came into my room and sat in my lap. Realizing that if I killed myself, the people making me miserable would have won. I pushed through out of spite and have since moved to a much happier point in life. My dad's still alive. FOMO of the technological singularity. Even if it ends up being Skynet. Just super curious how it will pan out, if it ever does. Drugs and casual sex help me deal with boredom/existential sadness in the meantime. Don't abuse your kids, folks. Shit stays with you forever. I failed. In reading through a bunch of threads here I keep seeing something that has personality hurt me. I've had a recent incident where a loved one suspected I was trying to kill myself. I wasn't. There was a forced hospital visit and seemingly endless conversations with family, friends, and therapists. They all say the same infuriating shit. Things will get better, it won't always feel like this. What about changing your medication? Do you have someone you can reach out to? Do you have a plan in case you're feeling suicidal? Number 36 years didn't help. A pharmacy of meds didn't help. I have no one to reach out to. I do not have a plan and your fucking hotline won't help me. I was homeless, living in my car about 11 years ago. I would entertain myself by watching pirated movies and TV shows on a little netbook I had. I ran out of content and didn't have anywhere to go with internet access. They had just put in area Wi-Fi where I was, but I didn't have a login. I posted on Facebook asking if anyone had a login and a coworker let me use his. That little kindness kept me going. About 6 years later the same coworker was through hiking the Appalachian Trail and ran out of money. I was doing much better by then and immediately donated more than he needed. I've been dealing with depression and suicidal ideation since the early 1990s. I'm 75, and there have already been 2 moments this year when self-harm was on the table. I know the signs, and as soon as a thought of suicide arrives, I tell my wife that I'm in trouble. We immediately stop whatever we're doing, go in and talk it through. She knows what to say and do and we get through it together. What we both know is, my thoughts of suicide do not mean that I want to die. They mean I cannot deal with my life at that moment, and I need help to get my thoughts and feelings sorted out. Anyone who has depression or any mental condition that results in suicidal ideation should if possible have a deal with a person they trust in which the suicidal person promises to contact the trusted person before taking any action. I may be suffering in this life, but it'll be worse in hell. Nothing, I'm doing it tomorrow. First attempt just failed. Started writing out my letters. Then I got to writing one for each of my pets, and couldn't finish the letter because I realized they needed me. Started heavily contemplating it again later on, so I went and got a really painful tattoo instead. It is of a chessboard and a king piece. To remind myself that it's hard to kill a king. My wife will be sad. The rest I don't give 2 shits. The potential pain, the potential of not dying but staying alive with some kind of brain damage, and the idea of my family finding me in a pool of blood or, well, dead. After a few years, not wanting to die is what stops me from doing it, so I'm pretty happy. Smile. Whoever you are, I'm glad you're still here. Please don't give up. Trust me, it really can get better. I don't like to say it does get better because it kinda detracts our responsibility, and while I know how hard it is absolutely important that we don't give up. We will have bad days, we won't be able to do anything for weeks, sometimes giving up will sound better. But in the long term, at the end of the day, we must keep trying and going. And then, it does get better. I decided to go travel alone with some savings I had to Los Angeles. Just for 4 days. I thought I'd give life one more shot before I did something drastic. On my birthday, I traveled alone and spent it alone in a city I've never been to before. Thousands of miles away from home. Nothing life-changing happened, but I joined some tours I found and they took some great pictures of me in the city. I got fillers on my under eyes. I got an eyelash berm, keratin for my hair, etc. I met a nice Uber driver that drove me from my filler appointment back to LA and even offered to stop at a Starbucks to get something to drink. She was awesome. I tipped her cash $30 when I got out because she was saving up money to go abroad. Keep in mind I was an unemployed college student that just saved money from selling stuff on Depop while living with my parents. Haha. One night I just took a bus to SF and really liked the city. I went back home and applied to accounting internships, really late in the process. Usually people apply in the fall semester. This was April 1st when I sent my application. A couple of weeks later I get interviewed and I get it. 3 years later and I live in SF, make 6 figures, am healthy, got a beautiful dog, and I couldn't be more grateful to Miss for making that trip. It felt so insignificant at the time and I would have never applied to an internship that far away. But I did, and I got it, and now I'm living the life I always dreamed of having. The drop down the side of the mountain wasn't steep enough to kill me if I drove off it, it had just caused me more financial issues and probably homelessness. Things are much better now several years later. Glad I didn't follow that impulse. Scared I would do it wrong. Cowardice. Fear of being a vegetable stuck here forever. A strange voice from nowhere. Trying and failing. So far. Not owning a gun. I realized that others have it much worse off than I did. It was as simple as that. I know it isn't as simple for others. I am fortunate that it was for me. My therapist telling me that my son's chance of suicide more than doubles if I do it. This is not a curse I'm willing to pass on. Not to him. My husky. It sounds dumb but I mean it. We just got her this past year after moving to Utah, and one time I was cutting and my husky deadass barged into my room and barked at me for a good 2 to 3 minutes, and she's been very careful watching me since then. And I just can't bear to put her through more pain. How ironic. And also my mom. Something very bad happened to me when I was 7/8 and she was one of the only ones who's been truly there for me, and I don't want anyone to cry over me. My parents weren't able to have kids. They spent years trying until they realized adoption was their only option. I couldn't do that to them, take away their only child after they did so much to have me. My own incompetence. My faith in God. My first suicide attempt resulted in a heart attack at age 14. I overdosed on my antipsychotics. Now I'm 40 and having seizures for the past 10 years. I feel like my seizures will kill me. Living in spite of the people I hate. Pick your worst enemy, doesn't have to be someone you know even. For example, we are on Reddit, so pick Putin. Now live your life to outlive that fuck. Fuck him. Live in spite of that lover evil fucker. Drugs. Just being honest. I didn't want my family to hurt just because I was hurting inside. That's a selfish thing to do. Finally giving up the lie and coming out to myself and in how I lived my life. Internalized homophobia is no joke, and this is one of many reasons we need to see positive representation in pop media. Cowardice. I'm too scared of the pain. I'd have done it a long time ago, but I'm worried it's going to hurt. That's the only reason. Thinking straight. I just sucked at it. Game of Thrones wasn't over yet, should have done it. Reddit. I've been in a decades-long battle to restore my name after having it and my career destroyed by a couple of Hollywood heavyweights. I wrote an open letter and a Redditor posted until more than a year after I published it while at the height of my suicidal ideation. Redditors largely empathized with my plight and in that moment I felt fucking heard. I spent the weekend dispelling myths and fighting for my truth and it changed everything. Reddit did what my family and friends could not. My mental health has since done a complete 180. I'm taking supplements that help manage all the lingering symptoms, depression and anxiety being the most persistent. That's been a big help as well, but what saved my ass was speaking up and being heard. Anyway, thanks Reddit. I'm still standing. Baseball.